May Matters signs have popped up all over, and they represent this year's more formal and publicized effort with its own website to encourage non-affiliated people to change their affiliation to Republicans, expressly to vote in the Republican primary. Do you agree with this strategy as being honest and worthy of publicizing to non-Republicans? If so, why? If not, why not? And I'm giving you a minute.
I think it's very dangerous for us to gauge the internal motivations of people who want to vote and have their voice represented in our government. I think people are free to associate with whom they wish to associate for whatever time they choose to do that. And so for me to say they cannot vote in a certain primary because they don't align with certain values that I may or may not share, I think that's dangerous for us to do.
Well, I too think it's dangerous to assume motives, but when people actively try to hide them, it gives me concern. And while I can't look into their heart, I can look into a worldview that produces this kind of thing, and that is that you will always know, my worldview will always be on my sleeve. You will always know when you disagree with me and when you don't. I see some head shaking because I have good friends who disagree with me on things, and they know when I will disagree with them. That is the American tradition that founded this country. It was based on honesty and transparency. And when we begin to deviate, and I don't know the motives again, so I can't speak to that, but when we try not to be open about why we're doing something, that gives me concern. So that's all I will say. So no, I'm concerned about the May Matters, but it does matter. Whoever wins in the primary will most likely be your candidate in the general.
So if you've worked the polls, if you've ever worked the voting booths, you know what happens. You know, you have the unaffiliated people come in and they change to a Republican. And I've had them working down in Sagal, I had them change to Republican, and they go vote and they come right back and they change it back. And we all know why they're doing it. It's because they're Democrats and they want to influence the Republican primary. And we try and protect our primary so they don't do it, because they try and vote for the worst Republican and we want the best Republican, right? But this is their tactic, because they can't win any other way. That's why they're doing the ranked choice voting thing. They can't win under the rules that we currently have, so Democrats, what are they going to do? They're going to change the rules so they can try and, weasel their way into it. And I don't agree with any of that stuff. I think actually the only change the primaries need in Idaho is we need to change to a system where if you don't get 50%, there's a runoff. And I think if we had that, then we'd actually get a much better Republican conservative representation. If you get one more vote than the other guy, you actually win. Well, that's how we got the guy we have now, and that's not working out, is it? So we need to change it to a 50% or a runoff.
I was recently in a commissioner's forum, and that question was asked about the May Matters signs, and did any of them know what they were? And they went down the line and nobody would answer the question except one candidate, which was Ron Korn, and he told the crowd what those signs meant. So everybody was very appreciative that he actually leveled with us and told us the truth. We are a two-party system in this country, and if we want to stay that, we've been that for almost 250 years. If we want to stay that way, then obviously we're seeing what they're doing to our primary, the Republican primary.
So the Democrats can't compete because their ideas are bad. So it's reality. So they do compete in the Republican Party, and May Matters is their attempt to deceive and be dishonest, and that's been a lot of what's been going on in the campaign. So, but what's at stake is, what has always been at stake is people want to use the government, the sort of government and the government's ability to tax to benefit themselves and grow their own special interests. That's what the Democrats want. That's what a lot of Republicans who are actually very left-leaning want. That's what's at stake. So the reality is May 21st does matter. We need conservatives to show up, and if we want the government to start heading in a more conservative direction in Idaho and not lead from behind but lead from out ahead, then we need all conservatives to show up on Tuesday, May 21st.
So I'm going to give everybody an additional 30 seconds if you want them, something you forgot to say or something you want to add.
So here in Priest River, I think it was 1947, the ballot had 4 different political parties on it, with dozens of candidates on that ballot. And everyone that went to vote could vote for any of those candidates, because they believed in voting for the person with the moral character that can represent them well. We need to be in a place where we can empower people to come and vote, where we can invite them to come into the conversation, where their voice can be heard. And this is probably done best by going back to the way it used to be, where you could go and vote, and if you were registered as a Republican or a Democrat or an independent or unaffiliated, that you could go and vote for the person that you felt would best meet your needs for representation.
I didn't really have a lot to say, but I never use a sentence when a paragraph will do, so here it goes. There was a time when I was so discouraged with the Republican Party, and sometimes I still am, but I realized that if I wanted to do something in a different party, I needed to do the right thing and register with that party. So many of you don't know this, and probably none of you know this because you don't know me, but I almost became a Constitution Party member. And to me, that would have been the appropriate and transparent and honest thing to do if I didn't feel represented properly by Republicans, was to change parties. But I didn't, and so here I am.
Well, as Scott said, the only way these people can get elected is through deception. So they, we're all, most of the people up in North Idaho are Republicans. So they see an R next to a name and they think you're a Republican and they vote for that. And the people that moved here recently are the ones most susceptible to that, the ones that don't know a lot of these people. They don't know who Jim Woodward is, and they don't know who Mark Sauter is. They don't understand what these people are. So it's up to us to educate them. So we should do that at every opportunity.
This is not totally related to the question, but I just had to say before we got too far into this that I'm not related to Mark Sauter. Just so you know.
Well, I'll just add my 30 seconds. When I mentioned bad ideas, here's the bad ideas. Forget about party for a moment. What's at stake on May 21st? The other side, and I talk about conservatives, the other side wants to kill babies at will in the state of Idaho. Right now we have an abortion ban. They want to reverse that. The other side does not want you to be able to carry your firearm on public property and in many other situations. Right now we have the ability to carry our firearms for the most part. We want to preserve that. We want to enhance stand your ground, those sorts of things. The other side looks at you as a threat with your firearm. The other side wants to spend Idaho into extreme national debt and corrupt the federal currency and bankrupt America. That's what's at stake on May 21st.